2009.
Oh, 9. Okay. So in 2009.
Sorry, no, 2008. Apologize.
Yeah, I was right. Good. And Tyler, were you grade 0 to matric or high school or what?
Yeah, I was 0 to matric. 13 glorious years at St. David's.
Okay. And in his time some of the teachers who were my mentors always described Tyler as like, yes, that Tyler Hollingsworth was the most talented sportsman we've had. Just anything, eh, Tyler? Cricket, rugby, soccer. You played it all, eh?
Yeah, played most sports, but I think that's a bit of an over-exaggeration as one of the most talented. Maybe had the talent, but didn't really realize that. Yeah, very flattered. Thank you.
Maybe you want to talk about specifically your journey through St. David's and then carrying on after that.
Yeah, sure. I made a presentation. Would you like me to share my screen with everyone?
Yeah, awesome.
All right, let's see. I'm not as tech savvy as you, Luke, so please excuse me if I mess this up. I'm going to see if I can make it work. Can you guys see?
Yeah, that's perfect. Coming through nicely, yeah.
All right. Should I do presentation mode or does this work fine for you guys?
No, that's great. This is fine for me. It looks good, yeah.
All right, perfect. So guys, welcome. Thank you so much for signing up today. I'm really excited to talk to all of you. Obviously, I was a St. David's old boy, so I absolutely love coming back and sharing my experiences and how I can potentially help you guys live your dreams. America, studying in the States for me was just incredible, and I'm hoping that you guys can take something from this and possibly follow in my footsteps. So let's get started. So Luke kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, gave you a little bit of a background, but yeah, I'm a St. David's old boy. I was there for 13 years from grade 0 to matric. It was a wonderful time. You don't really realize how incredible the memories are and the friendships and the experiences are until you leave. So I look back at my time at St. David's just with the fondest of memories. Luke mentioned earlier that I was pretty much an all-rounder. Some of the teachers flatter me a little bit, but pretty average, decent at everything, but not spectacular at anything. So as you can see over here, this was my old soccer coach back in the day, Mr. Gaffney. Luke knows Mr. Gaffney. Some of you boys probably don't, but he was the head of sports for a long time at St. David's, and he was also my cricket coach. And this is a photo here. We were on a rugby tour in New Zealand. We're playing a school by the name of Rotorua Boys High. I'll never forget it because I think we conceded about 60 points, and this guy was like running into a brick wall. So it was an interesting experience and got wonderful times at St. David's. This photo was actually also taken when I was at the Grey Soccer Tournament. A lot of you boys probably have been or are going to be going on that tour. So yeah, just rolling back the years. And then this photo is an interesting one. Some of you might recognize a certain Mr. Vicentia. This was taken at my matric dance in 2008. I think that was Luke's first or maybe second year as a teacher. We had quite a close bond, as you can see, and for some reason he wore an honors blazer to matric dance. Interesting. So my career as a footballer really started at a young age. I was about 4 years old when I started playing and was generally quite good. I was never the best, but I was always making the provincial teams, got picked up by the academies. And at the age of about 10, I joined Balfour Park, which was at the time taken over by Supersport United Academy. So I played for the academy for about 6 years. And then I went on a tour with St. David's to the UK. And a couple of scouts from Arsenal were watching us and were quite interested in 3 or 4 boys. They mentioned my name somewhere in there. And, I never got signed by Arsenal, obviously, but the word got back to South Africa, and a scout by the name of Patrick, I forget his name, he was a scout for Liverpool, Bolton, Everton, a couple of the clubs up in the north of England, northwest, I believe it is. And he organized for me to go on trial at Bolton Wanderers. So this is me at Bolton's facilities back when they were in the Premier League. And there's Julio Jurisic, and he is also a St. David's old boy, very talented player, had a couple of caps in the PSL here. I believe he played for Morocco Swallows. Sundowns and Amazulu. But yeah, that's Quinton Fortune. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. Man United legend, Tottenham Hotspurs and Bolton. So yeah, I spent a couple of weeks up there. Unfortunately, once again, wasn't good enough to make it in the Premier League, but good enough to kind of, mix it with the top boys over there. It was incredible. 2 weeks, got to meet Nicholas Anelka, Sam Allardyce, Alhaj Juf. I know I'm probably showing my age here. You guys probably don't know who these guys are, but they were Premier League players back in my day. Yeah, guys. So when I got to matric, I just, I didn't make it as a pro baller. Started, looking internationally and, sending my footage all over the country, and with the help of all over the world, all over the USA, with the help of Mr. Gaffney, the head of sports at St. David's at the time. He had a bit of a reputation for sending guys over. So he had a few contacts in the States, and he sent my footage over to Gannon University, where Mr. Roo, Gareth Roo, was actually currently playing. He was the captain at the time there. So Mr. Roo put in a good word for me, and Gannon, luckily enough, offered me about a 90% scholarship over there. American universities are really, really expensive. They're about $50,000 a year. So I was lucky enough to get a really big discount. And I went there for 4 years. Beautiful campus. What they don't show you in the brochure, so this picture here in the top left is their summer campus, and the one on the right is their campus for most of the year. So covered in snow, freezing cold, but absolutely loved my 4 years at college. Just a little bit more background on Gannon University. It's a small college. It's NCAA Division II, so not at the highest level of college sports. It's in the second division, and they're based in Pennsylvania, up in the northeast of the USA. Spent 4 awesome years there and absolutely loved it. With regards to my playing days at Gannon, we were a solid team. We were always in the top 20 in the nation for our division. There's about 600 NCAA universities that play sport across all 3 divisions, Division 1, 2, and 3. Obviously in D2, Gannon was up in the top 20. And we did relatively well. My freshman year, my first year in college was in 2009. And, as the incoming freshman group, there were 6 starters that were freshmen, youngsters, because their 2008 year was extremely strong and they lost a whole bunch of their seniors. They left, so we had to kind of fill the void. And our first year was a bit of a nightmare. I remember I got a red card in our derby game against Mercyhurst. Went in for a bit of a bad tackle, and they beat us 4-0 that game. So it was a rough start to my college football career. I think we went 500, meaning we won 50% of our games. So not great. From being like national title contenders in 2008, 2009 was really bad. And then it kind of slowly progressed until in 2013, we made it to the national championships again. We got to the Sweet 16. So we came 16th out of, 300 universities in the States. It was just incredible. As you can see here, we're busy lining up for the national anthem at the top, electronic screens. It was great. It was my college career. Let's go to the next slide here. And then with regards to just college life, being a student in the States is something else. From what you see in the news versus what you actually get to experience is completely different. American people are extremely friendly. They really want to know a lot about you. And I've probably got more friends in the United States than I do in South Africa, to be honest. Just the relationships and connections I made through sports, through playing in my soccer team at Gannon, and just being on campus was just an unbelievable experience that I'll never regret. Top left here, guys, you can see this was when we went to the NCAA tournament, meaning the championships. I was obviously a player. This was Halloween, my freshman year, where we'd carved a whole bunch of pumpkins, which was pretty cool. Bottom left is when I first saw snow for the first time. I was blown away and obviously had to roll around in it. So, as an African does, you kind of dive in it and throw snowballs. And then I obviously graduated in 2013. One of the best things about being a college student athlete is the travel. Now, when you're an athlete, you travel a lot. Every single weekend, you're kind of on the bus, on the planes, flying across the country, but you don't get to see the country as much as you like, right? So, you probably fly down, say you're in Pennsylvania, you're flying to North Carolina, or you're driving to North Carolina. Those bus trips are brutal. They're generally like 13, 14 hours if you don't get a plane ticket. But you're kind of traveling on a Friday, you're sleeping, feet up in bed nice and early for a game on a Saturday. You play your game, and then you're back on the bus or you're back on the plane. So you don't really get to experience the United States as a tourist. You don't get to really see the country as you would. But the college calendar is really full of awesome little breaks. You get fall break, you get spring break, you get Thanksgiving, you get a whole bunch of opportunities to make friends and go home with your buddies. One of the best things about being at college overseas is you get to, you can't obviously go back to your family for Thanksgiving in South Africa. So you kind of just make friends and go spend Thanksgiving with them wherever they are in America. And it's such a big country. You can have friends from New York and Florida and LA, and you just kind of hop on a plane, stay with their family for free. And you get to experience some incredible things. So over here, top left, this is Monuments Valley in Utah. It's beautiful scenery. This is New York City with a couple of old St. David's boys. They both played with me at Gannon. I think he was 2005 and he was 2010. Tyron Springer, and Craig Dixon was also South African. He went to Westville Boys High. So there was a large contingent of internationals playing sports in the States. Obviously, this is CNN. One of the great things about American colleges is that they give you the opportunity to take electives. And I decided to take snowboarding as an elective. So every 2 weeks, I would get academic credit for hitting the mountains and doing a bit of snowboarding. Not sure if any of you guys know Miami Ink. Luke might know this, but it was quite a popular TV show back in like the late 2000s. So I went down to Florida, hung out there for spring break and popped past here. I didn't get a tattoo, but I had to pull in and kind of see what was going on. And then this is the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas. So got to see about 25 of the 50 states in America. And just, if you like traveling and you like exploring, studying in the States is just an incredible opportunity to do that. So how did my company start? 2015, I decided I'd had enough of the States. I'd lived there for 6 years, graduated, and was working in insurance, which really wasn't my thing. I've always been a sportsman. So, I decided to come back and start a company by the name of Aspire Atlantic. First couple of years was a bit rough. We didn't really sign a lot of new players, but it really started to take off in about 2017, 2018. Over here, I was named to the Malin Guardian Young 200 South Africans in the country. Over here's an article from Fast Company where Aspire Atlantic, or I was, as the founder of Aspire Atlantic, I was listed to the top young South Africans, top 30 under 30 for Fast Company. And then we were invited by 5FM to do a couple of interviews after one of our athletes went to an Ivy League university. So this is just a picture of us hanging out in the 5FM studios after our interview. So I started in 2015. We probably got about 325 athletes that are currently in our program or in the United States. And we've done an incredible job. We've raised about $35 million in sports scholarship for them, which is closing in on R500 million. So it's just kind of been a bit of a fairy tale story for us, But one of the biggest things for Aspire Atlantic is that we really just kind of stood true to, helping people, not trying to kind of build dreams up and, kind of not deliver on that scholarship opportunity. We really try and find the best for our kids, and we identify the best athletes. So enough about me and my background. Let's talk a bit more about the important stuff and how you guys can follow in my footsteps. So how can you get a sports scholarship to the United States? So there's really three major areas that you guys want to focus on from a really, really early age. Grade 8, grade 9, grade 10. You want to start looking at all of this stuff. Number one, your academics, right? At the end of the day, I know you guys love your sports and you're footballers and you want to really make it professionally. But if you want to go to the States, you're going to study. You have to get into that institution before you can play. So academics is critical, and they look at your marks from grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. One of the biggest differences between South African universities and American universities is that we here look at our grade 11 marks, take the NBTs, and then we kind of just smash it in matric. We really put the hammer down and get good marks. In the States, they look at all the years equally. So grade 9 is just as important as matric. So you guys really have to understand that if America is what you want to do, grade 9 is really important. So is grade 11 and grade 10. The second thing is high quality video footage. One of the biggest problems that we face as a company is that our athletes are spectacular, and we know this, but American universities don't. Barring you flying to the USA and doing a trial at one of the universities, the only way that a coach is going to see you is through high quality video footage. And I know St. David's is doing a really good job with you guys. I was at the tournament last year, and I must have seen about 30 different camera setups. I don't know if that was the parents or St. David's organizing it, but yeah, it's critically important, and not just for soccer. It's for swimming. If you're a swimmer and you want a swimming scholarship, get that technique, the turns. Tennis, basketball, video footage is absolutely critical. We can't do much without it. So make sure you guys have got it. And then the last thing is playing at a higher level than just school. Playing for St. David's, as good as we are at sport, it's not good enough. You have to play at the academy level. You've just got to hustle. If you guys want some contacts at the academies, give me a call. I know a lot of the coaches who coach at Pirates, at Highlands Park, at Black Aces. I know a lot of people there. So if you guys are looking for trials, and trials are generally in early Jan, you got to get down there. You've got to be fit. So December is not a holiday time if you want to play academy football, and which really is a must. Because if you're playing at school, you're just gonna kind of go Division 3, average Division 2. So that for me is the three most important things: playing at a high level, provincially, nationally, or at an academy, getting good marks, and lots of video footage. Well, this is also an interesting one. A lot of people, when I chat to them and they're in grade 10 and grade 11, a lot of parents and athletes say, Tyler, I'm interested in the States, but not right now. I'm still quite young. I'm only in grade 11. I've got plenty of time. Well, the reality is there's two different timelines, right? If you are a student and you just want to go study there, being in matric is absolutely fine. You can wait to matric and do your applications, and that's normal. It's pretty much what South African universities do. But American universities are very, very different. They've got two timelines. The second timeline is the athletic timeline, okay? Now, coaches start recruiting athletes in the middle of grade 11. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that you have to start considering this process from about the end of grade 10, early grade 11. You have to start getting that video footage together, making those really nice highlights videos. Your academics, you've got to make sure that your marks are good, because if coaches want to see your report cards and they want to see your footage in the middle of grade 11, what report cards are they going to see? It's going to be your grade 10 report cards, right? So make sure that your marks are up in grade 10, okay? And then with regards to your SATs, you want to take those in grade 11, okay? I know most of the curriculum in South Africa covers the SAT by the end of grade 11, but start studying. It's going to help you in the classroom. It's a maths and an English test. So if you take that in grade 11, it's going to put you ahead of most of the guys in your class. And it takes the pressure off you being in matric, because when you're in matric, you've got projects and finals and prelims and sport, matric dance. You got a million things to worry about. You don't want to be scrounging around for video footage and really worrying about that SAT test. So take it early. Start considering the stuff for grade 10 and grade 11. GPA, guys, I'm sure you may have heard of the term grade point average. It's basically an average of all of your marks from grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. There's a really nice blog article on our website if you guys want to read up about it. I'm not going to explain how to do the calculations, but if you just go to aspireatlantic.com and you search for GPA, it'll walk you through how to do that. And to compete in the United States, you need to get a grade point average of about 2.3, which converted to South African marks is about 55 to 60%. Okay, and just because you get that 2.3 GPA, in order to be eligible to play in the USA doesn't mean you're going to get into your dream university, because the NCAA has their level of athletic requirements, but Harvard University has their own level, which is way higher than a 2.3. So you can't just kind of scrape through and get that low GPA and hope to go to UCLA. I know UCLA is a very popular one. It's a really tough institution to get into. If you Usain Bolt and you don't have the marks, well, you're not going to get in there. You have to be accepted first before those scholarships come through. Second part of the slide is the SAT test, the Scholastic Aptitude Test. Essentially, it's a maths and an English test that's about 3 hours long that you guys need to take in grade 11. It's out of 1,600 points, 800 for the maths section, 800 for the English section. There's an optional essay too. So you guys must definitely take the optional essay. It just shows the university that you're willing to go the extra mile. It's only 45 minutes longer. And some universities won't look at your application if you don't take the optional essay. So GPA is important, 2.3 minimum, SAT. The Athletes in Aspire Atlantic, we try to push our students to get 1,250. That just gives you a great opportunity to look at more universities than just the bare minimum. Harvard and the Ivy Leagues are, Harvard actually is just mentioned that they're no longer looking at the SAT. So that's an interesting recent development. But the league, the NCAA, still requires you to take it. So even though Harvard and a couple of the other Ivy Leagues don't want the SAT, the league requires it. So you're going to have to take that. Hope that makes sense, guys. Let's talk about the athletic associations, right? So in America, university sports is not governed by the universities itself. It's governed by the athletic associations. Now, there's three big ones: the NCAA, the NAIA, and the NJCAA. But the biggest one that you really need to worry about is the NCAA, right? If any of you guys are basketball fans, you will have heard of the NCAA March Madness, which was canceled this year. That's them. There's about 500,000 student athletes that compete in college sports across 3 divisions, 1,200 universities, 96 championships. So it's an incredible institution. And what they do is they make sure that you are not a professional athlete. So you cannot be like, for example, Mason Greenwood at Manchester United, right? He's like 19 years old. Now, if he didn't want to play for United, he could easily win himself a scholarship to America. No problems. He's fantastic. But the NCAA will say, no, Mason, you can't play for us. You've played professionally. It's just unfair. So the first thing they do is that they will not allow you to play college sports if you played professionally in the past. All right. The second thing they do is they make sure that you're a student athlete, right? So your academics come before your athletics, student athlete. So you need to do a couple of things. You need to take the right subjects, all right? And you must not take maths literacy. If you guys are taking maths literacy, you can still play in the NCAA, but it's going to be a much longer and more difficult process. So anyone who has maths literacy and you're a bit confused and a bit upset by that statement, give me a call and I'll take a look at your report cards and just see if you're eligible or not. But most likely you're going to have to compete in an alternative sporting association for a year before you can move to the NCAA. And the NCAA is the one that you really want to play in. So guys, maths core is the way to go. Okay. Costs. Now this is always a big one. How much do American universities cost? Well, guys, they are very, very expensive. On average, about $50,000. Your more prestigious institutions, Stanford, Harvard, Columbia, $70,000 per year, which is well over R1 million every single year. Scholarships, what do they cover? Okay, so there's 3 different types of scholarships that you potentially can win, right? I think I've got another slide. Let me switch to the next slide. This is kind of what I'm talking about. What do scholarships cover, right? So there's 3 different types of scholarships. There's a partial scholarship, which can be between 1 and 99%, because it's a partial of the tuition that you'll be paying to go there. The second type of scholarship you will get is called a full tuition scholarship. Now, people often get confused between a full ride scholarship and a full tuition scholarship. Full tuition scholarship only pays for your classroom activities. So the ability to go to class, the ability to write exams and get transcripts and report cards. The full tuition scholarship will cover your classroom activities. It'll also cover your room and board, so your dormitory. They're obviously not going to pay for your posters and your blankets, but they'll give you a bed, a desk, and a cupboard, and you'll just have to kit that out. And sometimes, depending on how much the coach likes you, they may throw in some books, okay? Books and medical insurance. But most of the time, it's just going to be your food on campus, your tuition, and your room, right? Scholarships will cover any medical-related injuries related to your sport. So if you're a soccer player and you're on a partial scholarship and you get injured, all the medical expenses will be covered by the university's insurance, okay? So, it doesn't really, you don't have to worry about your scholarship covering your sports-related injuries. Also, your kit and your boots, if you play NCAA Division I, if you play at the highest level of NCAA sports, I think I've skipped a couple of slides there for some reason, but I'll go back. Sorry, guys. If you play at the highest level of NCAA sports, they'll cover your boots, they'll cover your kit, your travel, flights, absolutely everything. But if you're at the NCAA Division II or Division III levels, generally it's just your kit and practice kits. They're not going to pay for your boots. Sometimes you'll get a sponsorship from Nike where they'll give you cost price on your boots, but most of the time you're just going to have to buy that stuff yourself. All right. I believe I missed this slide. I don't know how I missed it, but let's go back a little bit. The NCAA divisions, okay, are comprised of 3 separate entities: Division I, Division II, and Division III. If I had to kind of open this up to the floor, I'm sure everyone would say they wanted to play at NCAA Division I, right? And I think 1 or 2 of the guys in this chat or in our program are talking to some NCAA Division I schools. But most of the time, guys, athletes in the Aspire Atlantic program, elite athletes, super talented, they don't go Division I, right? They go to Division II. Now, a lot of people are shocked and upset by this statement, but it's true. The reason why they don't go Division I, it's not because they're not good enough to play at that level. It's because of the funding aspect. Not many people can play Division I and pay $50,000 per year, 750,000 Rand. So what happens? These elite guys, they drop down to Division II, and because it's a lower level of athletics, of competition, they generally get more scholarship from the lower divisions. So you'll see guys that went to St. David's or wherever, they're not playing at the highest level, not because they're bad, it's because their parents can't afford the shortfall at Division I. They can play at Division II for a year or maybe 2 years, and then they can transfer to Division I later. But right out of the gate, it's very, very rare. You have to be a super special talent to be able to command a full scholarship from an NCAA Division I right out of high school. You've got to be super, super special. Division II, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Division II. I went D2. Sometimes the academics at the Division II and III institutions are actually better than your Division I institutions. So, for example, if anyone wants to be an engineer, you guys may have heard of Carnegie Mellon Institution or MIT. Those are all Division III institutions. Just because they play in the third division doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they haven't invested in their sports as much as, say, like an Ohio State or a Michigan State. The University of Michigan has got a football stadium that seats 110,000 students. It's bigger than any stadium in South Africa. It's incredibly big. And the divisions are basically just broken up based on size and funding. So your big-time universities have got lots of students, they've got lots of money, so they can build a billion rand stadium. They can do that. But your smaller institutions like the one that I went to, they've only got 10,000 students. They don't have the tuition, they don't have the funding. So facilities are incredible. Like, I was obviously playing at the best, soccer academies in South Africa throughout my youth career. And I went to a 2nd division university and the facilities were much better than anything I'd seen. Probably not as good as Bolton, but I mean, at that level, very, very professional setup. So when thinking of divisions, guys, I'm just trying to drive home the fact that Division II and Division III aren't bad. Division I is obviously the best and everyone wants to go there, but don't get too heartbroken if that's not where you're seeing coaches from. If you're talking to coaches and they're D2, that's incredible. Well done. Division 1 is not, Division 2 is not the end of the world. All right. Let's talk about some of our athletes. You may recognize this guy, Marco Afonso, was one of the best players to come out of St. David's recently. We assisted him in getting him into Grand Canyon University. Incredible young man, super smart. I wish I had a video. You should see this guy play, brilliant. Another St. David's old boy, but he left in grade 7. He went to Hilton, Guy Waterhouse. He is now studying at the University of Princeton in New Jersey. He's there on a partial, actually he's not on a scholarship, he's on a needs-based financial aid. Ivy League universities don't offer sports scholarships. So if anyone wants to go to the Ivy Leagues, you can't. They don't offer sports scholarships. So depending on your character, your academics, and your financial ability, they will then offer you needs-based financial aid. These two athletes are some of our top performers. Matt Nokia here, he's the 400-meter champion. I know there's a couple St. David's boys who have beaten him, or one in particular. I'm not going to mention any names. He's going to the University of Texas at Austin on a full ride scholarship. He's paying $0 at one of the best athletic institutions in the States. And this is Kayla van der Berg, one of our ambassadors. She's the 100-meter female under 18 hurdling champion. She's going to be going to the University of Northern Colorado on a full scholarship too. So here's just a sample of some of the kids that are in our program. Incredibly high level. And you guys don't have to be at this level, but aiming high is definitely going to help you with the funding. But at the end of the day, you're still going there to study, guys. You're going to get an education. So academics is critically important. Make sure that you're NCAA qualified by taking the core courses. I'm not going to run through the core courses now. It's pretty confusing, but just do your research. NCAA core courses and maths literacy is a no-go. If you're really struggling with maths and you can't do it, take maths lit, but don't take it because it's, you just don't feel like doing maths, because if you want to go to America, they don't know what maths literacy is, and you'll have to play in some alternative athletic association. So maths core is definitely the way to go. And guys, let me just go through and make sure I haven't skipped anything out. Yeah, basically that's it. That's my presentation for you guys today. Any of you guys have got some questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Tyler, maybe the boys, if you want to ask a question, just type type something in the chat and I'll call on you. But to start off with, thanks for excellent professional presentation there, Tyler. Just something I picked up on the end, speaking about Waterhouse, are there opportunities for non-sportsmen, for strictly academics, to get some kind of scholarship to any kind of university in the States?
Yeah, absolutely. The academic portion is generally, so at Aspire Atlantic, we focus on athletes, but, stronger academics that are also athletes does help to get you into an institution. And most of the time, the guys who go for free to America that have gone through our program don't go purely on their sports scholarship. It's their academic portion that really covers the shortfall from their sports scholarship. So generally, when you're applying to American institution, there is no separate application for academic scholarships. There's one application that's for scholarships and it's for admission. If you're admitted, then they will re-look at it and evaluate what kind of academic scholarship you can get. But absolutely, there's academic scholarships, there's religious scholarships, diversity scholarships. For me, when I was at Gannon, I think soccer only covered half of my fees, but I won myself an international grant. I know it's quite amazing that I somehow won some academic scholarship. I don't know how that happened, but I won some academic scholarship, and then I was left with about 10% left to pay. So if you guys are not sporty at all and you're looking to study in the States, get those good marks. A 3.5 GPA and an SAT of about 1,300. we'll get you some big discounts.
Cool. I think Aiden's got an excellent question. We'll go to Aiden first, and then after Aiden, Harry, you can ask.
So I just wanted to ask a question. So for the boys who want to move on and take it to like a professional level, or maybe try their best to like play in England or something like that. So do the American schools provide you to set you up for that? So do they like give you the best like way for you to follow your dream, or to like be the best that you can in that area, to excel in that in sports?
Sure, that's a really good question. Just from personal experience, when I was competing at college in the States, I know 5 guys from my team. So I was there for 4 years, and in those 4 years, 5 guys that played with me turned professional. Right, so you can absolutely do that. A couple guys, one guy played in Malta, one guy played in Iceland, 2 played in the States, and 1 played in Australia. Not at the highest levels, not in like the Premier Leagues of those countries, but they absolutely did. There definitely are opportunities. You must definitely make that known to the coach when you're over there. Say, hey, coach, listen, if you hear of any opportunities to turn pro, or any scouts coming into town, please let me know, because they do have trials that, coaches are always being contacted for NPSL or development league trials. And, coaches aren't the best at their emails. These guys are people out there that really just enjoy coaching students and developing athletes. But if they know that you're looking professionally and they think that you've got the ability to do it, you can go down for what's called a combine. A combine is essentially like trials where they measure your sprint speed, your vertical jump. Like, they do a whole bunch of biometric measurements on you, and then if you make it through that, then you can go and actually play. But yeah, absolutely. I know Marco Afonso, one of the St. David's old boys from our slide 16. Their team plays against the MLS in the off season. So when the guys need some warm-up games, or if their reserve side needs a game, they'll play against the NCAA teams too. So there's plenty of opportunity for you to be scouted, and it happens all the time. Good question.
Thank you, sir. I've also got another question, sir.
Sure.
Sorry to keep you. So when you went over to England, so this is one of my questions, sir. What do you think did you think the standard of football from the guys that you're trialing against, do you think it was like a way better than what you've ever seen before? Or how do you think we can like set up to train to become better than them, or to excel like that?
I think it was it's a tough question to answer. Do I think they were better than me? Absolutely. I definitely think they were better than me, but I just think they were drilled better. They were trained better from a younger age. When I was growing up, the South African style of football was very much a South African style, which is very much street football. Lots of talent, lots of skill, and we would take that into the games, and we would take that into practice. So we were really practicing things that were not looked for in the UK. And looking back on it, I just remember distinctly the speed of the ball was just incredible. In South Africa, we'd get the ball, we'd kind of hang on to it, try to do a skill or two, beat a player. In the UK, it wasn't like that. It was get the ball and move and play, and move the ball as fast as you can and let the ball do the work, which was something I wasn't used to. I was always trying to hold the ball up, slow it down, beat a player, show off some skill, which is great. I had the skill. I think I was more skillful than most of the guys there, but I just didn't know how to play the game. They would their first touch was immaculate. You could hit a ball at the guy, and no matter where it was, he'd bring it down, and he would just let go of the ball. He would turn on a dime, open up, distribute, next thing you know, the ball's on the other side of the field and your defenders are sleeping. So it's just a lot faster. The ball moves a lot faster, and the control was just, out of this world, just on another level.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I see Harry there. Harry, what's your question?
So I wanted to ask, could you please explain how the summer league works, and what is the best way to get to the summer league?
So for me personally, when I was over there was a team called the Erie Admirals. They were the NPSL, which is essentially like the development leagues for the MLS. So I forget the league structures. They change them every like 2 or 3 years. They kind of move them around. But essentially, there's 3 levels of professionalism, and then there's the NPSL, which is like the development for that. And over the summer, there's a whole bunch of teams that compete, where they pay you a stipend. Essentially, it's if you make the teams, they'll pay you to survive. Obviously, you're not at university anymore, so once you finish school for that, but once you're on summer break, you either have to come back to South Africa or stay with a friend. These teams, you go for trials in your spring semester. From like March through to May, you'd have trials, and then you'd make the team, and then you'd play for them for the entire summer. And it's just the league, but players from all over the world would come out. So guys from the UK and Serbia and Australia, and they'd all come and play for these teams in the hopes of going further in their career, because that's really the development ground. That's like the farming ground for American professional soccer. And they have trials. You can just jump online, look for, I forget the name now, but if you chat to your coaches, if you guys are over there, chat to your coaches, they know all about it, and they know all the dates. But yeah, I those teams, I was always injured. I wasn't really good enough, I didn't think, to play for them, and I always wanted to come back home. I had a girlfriend back in South Africa, so my freshman, sophomore year, I was back in the country. Never actually ended up playing for the NPSL sides, but I was down at trials, very good level, really, really good. A lot higher than anything I played in South Africa.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, Harry. Theo, do the colleges ever move you between sports? For example, if you're a good rugby player, would they move you to American football? Thank you. Theo, yeah, it's definitely possible. There's a South African, I think he was a discus thrower. I forget his name now, but he was a under 18 South African champion discus thrower. Once he finished his collegiate career, he played 1 season for, I think it was the University of Arkansas, or one of those big schools. And now he's playing NFL for the Green Bay Packers. So it's definitely possible. We've sent a couple of rugby players over there. It's not popular for us purely because the scholarships are so small. But if you're a great rugby player and you try out for the football team, you can definitely do that. There is opportunities to move around. But most of the time, if you're in the States for one scholarship and the university is paying for you to, say, for example, you're a runner, very few of the coaches are going to allow you to play rugby purely because of the threat of injury. You'd have to finish your collegiate athletics career and then play a bit of rugby after that, and then potentially play for the football team. But you can do it. Yeah, there are dual athletes. Some runners play football, but it's just not very common.
I think on that guy you're talking about is Gerard de Beer.
Yes.
His story is that he went looking for American universities, and he said he had a few offers, and he asked he had 4 offers, and he asked all the coaches, can I try American football? And 3 of them said no. And there was one guy said, yeah, cool, you can try American football. And there we go. The rest is history.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah. What's his name? Gerard de Beer. Yeah. Okay. Who else have we got here? We've had Theo, Jack Judds. Jack, hi.
Hi, sir. I just wanted to ask, you said something about Nike sponsoring you to buy at cost.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, because I thought as a student athlete you can't have any form of sponsorship affiliated with you in order to compete at NCAA.
Yeah, great question. So they wouldn't be sponsoring you, they'd be sponsoring the team. So for example, if your university was sponsored by Nike, the university would then say, hey, Jack, here's a promo code. Go to the Nike website, type this in, and you can have whatever you want at cost price. So they wouldn't be sponsoring you, it would be the teams.
Okay, cool. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Theo Fontanel, hello, sir. For young players looking to grow in soccer, which clubs do you recommend? Any club that's playing at the academy level. There are a whole bunch of really good ones. So if you want to go to mysafa. Let me look it up quickly. mysafa.net. you guys want to go to mysafa.net and type in GDL, Gauteng Development League, type in GDL on mysafa.net. It lists all the clubs in Gauteng, and you guys can you can just Google them and approach them and call them. But you are going to have to hustle. No one's going to come looking for you. No one's going to pull you into their academy. You have to make the calls. You have to be a bit uncomfortable and make it happen. Coaches in America are not going to come running after you. Coaches in South Africa aren't. You've got to make your own way. Cool. Thanks, Theo. Kwame, what is your training schedule like? How often are practices and matches? So in the States, you train every single day, Monday through Friday. If there's a game during the week, obviously you won't practice on that day, you'll play. But yeah, Monday through Friday, you train every single day. Pre-season is about 3 weeks long. You train twice a day. And then, yeah, sometimes you can play 2 games on the weekends, especially if the competitions or the matches are too close to fly and too far away to kind of drive there, play, drive back, and then go the next day. So often you'll drive for like 8 hours and you'll play on a Saturday and a Sunday and you'll come back. So sometimes you can train 7 days a week. The preseason is definitely the killer. Twice a day in the middle of American summer is tough work. Gerrit de Beer. Okay, Luke, thanks for that. Masana, afternoon, sir. What's the highest level you played here in South Africa? I played in the academy level. So at about 16, when I came back from Bolton, just was really exhausted. My academics, I wasn't academically strong. I was kind of weak, 50, 60% student. I'd taken a lot of time off to pursue international sports. And when I didn't make it, I came back and Platinum Stars wanted to sign me on a pro contract. Wits wanted to sign me. A whole bunch of clubs wanted me to go and just, leave school and play for them full time, train at 10 a.m. in the morning. And I was in grade 10 or grade 11 at the time. So I was just a bit overwhelmed and kind of, my parents were worried about my academics. So I stopped playing club soccer when I came back from Bolton. And then matric, got this opportunity to go to the States. So kind of shifted. I wish I'd done it differently. Looking back on it now, I probably should have pursued it, but I didn't, unfortunately. Kwame, how do you balance education and sports at university? So it's quite easy because you're so busy. You just kind of have no time to chill, especially in season. So in the mornings, obviously you got a class all day. I had a job too. I worked at the dean's office as a clerk, answering phones and doing filing. Afternoons would be practice. I was always injured, so I was always forever in the physio's office. An hour before practice, I was getting a massage and an ice bath and just getting strapped up, and then I'd practice. And then there's something called, at my university, there was something called study hall. So every single day you had to do 2 hours in the library. So after practice, hit the showers, hit the library for 2 hours. And then once you're in there and you've got stuff to do, you just do it. So at St. David's, I was very much on my own. Parents didn't worry about me. They were just like, he's passing. So I kind of never did my homework and I just didn't care. But at college, if you dip below the GPA requirements, you can't play. And you're on a scholarship there. So I was very cautious to make sure that my GPA was good. And you're forced. You have to go to study hall. If you miss it, you get booted off the team. So yeah, it's kind of forced on you. And because you're so busy, you just do it. You're in that mode and you get into a really good routine. Tariwa, sir, if you want Chelsea or other teams in Europe to come and watch you, you need to send the club highlights, or do you ask coaches? I'm not sure. Scout saw me in South Africa and he organized the whole trip to the UK. I don't know. Yeah, Scout just saw me. I was very lucky, I guess. I have no idea. But yeah, if you want to hustle, if you want to make things happen, make a highlights reel, get in contact with Chelsea or whoever, and just make it happen. You can't just sit around and hope a scout sees you. So if you've got the tenacity and the drive, make that footage and just keep pounding him down. That I would say that's probably a good plan. Yeah, I can't really answer that. Sorry, Tadiwa. Theo Drea. Hi again, sir. If you get injured, does your scholarship get dropped? Generally not. NCAA rules state that you're there to study, you're not there to play sport. They know that you're a student athlete, once again, student. So if you're going to have a career-ending injury, as long as you have a good attitude, you're still involved in the team and you're participating and you're passing, your scholarship's just generally going to be renewed. You do hear stories of guys getting their scholarship taken away because they get injured, but you do have the opportunity to appeal that. If you appeal, you're generally going to win. The NCAA will side with the student most of the time because you're there, you're a student, you're not an athlete. So if your career is over, they're going to penalize the coach. Not penalize the coach, they're just going to say, coach, listen, he's a kid. So you don't really have to worry about that too much. It happened to some of my mates, some of my teammates, knees, ACLs gone, guys didn't play again, and they still kept their scholarships. So, yeah. Manala, afternoon, sir. What opportunities do you think are available for us to try get into top 5 leagues in Europe? Sure. It's basically just working your way into the academy system here, and making the right connections, trying to get in touch with some agents in South Africa. One agency that works with us quite closely is called Pro Sports International. If you guys reach out to me, I can put you in touch with some of their agents. They're a pretty reputable agency, pretty big. Get into the academies here, play at the highest level, and chat to them. They obviously have got the connections into Europe. I'm just an American agency. I don't have any contacts in Europe. All right, is that it?
Let's maybe hear from Keanu, and then we'll call it a day there. Sorry, Sibiso and Kuliseko.
Sorry, so like when you play at a higher level, I found like you normally play a few games in a day and over like 3 days. So you're playing I had to play like 5 games a day for like 3 days, and I found like often you start getting injured a lot easier. And although I was like trying to stretch and all of that, it kind of still got a little bit injured. What did you say like is the best strategy? Because I'm pretty sure like training every week, you probably also got like injured and like didn't perform as well like towards the end of the week. So what would you say is like a good idea to keep performance up?
It's a good question. What sport did you play? Because 5 games a day, that's a bit much.
So it was football.
Playing soccer?
Yes.
Sure. I don't know. I've never experienced a football team that makes you play five games a day. But for me, when how I was able to maintain my fitness, and I was very injured. But the key was the off season. When you're kind of on holiday and you're relaxing, if you want to be fit and strong within the season, your off season, you've got to be training. Maybe take a week off, but you really have to hit the gym, stretch, yoga, Pilates in your core is so important. The off season is the most important thing for longevity. Just all around fitness, because when you go to preseason, you are going to get beat up. In the States, they're going to beat you up. And if you're not fit, you're going to break down. Your body's not going to be able to handle that level of intensity. You'll pull muscles within the first 2 days. So make sure your off season, you are training twice a day for 3 months. That's definitely the key.
Thank you, sir.
Tyler, thanks so much for your time. I think from the questions, it showed that the boys were really engaged there. And we really appreciate you taking quite a large chunk of time to spend with us and help us out. Maybe if you just want to end by letting the guys follow your Instagram and everything. I know there's quite a lot of information that Aspire posts. Good Instagram page to follow.
Sure. Yeah, guys, you can just jump on Instagram and search for Aspire Atlantics or USA_scholarships. That's our handle. I'm not too sure if anyone uses Facebook on here, but we're on Facebook and Twitter. Otherwise, just visit our website. All the details on aspireatlantic.com. Aspire Atlantic.
Yeah, thanks again, Tyler. Thanks for attending, boys. And
thank you, guys. Take care. Thanks, Luke.